Welcome back to another edition of the Here We Go podcast. I am your host, Trent Gang, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about the quarterback situation in Pittsburgh. Might be the worst kept secret in the NFL going into 2025 that the Pittsburgh Steelers are not going to have a lot of options at quarterback. You're not going to find a franchise quarterback, very likely. And pretty much all of the guys who are going to be available via trade, via free agency, guys who get cut, whatever it might be, they're probably not going to be a long-term answer. I'm still going to stick by my guns that I really think the Justin Fields deal is going to get done. I think it's going to get done sooner rather than later. I feel like it's going to be done before March. I'm actually a little surprised that it's not been done by now. I think the team's motivated to get Justin Fields signed, 25 years old. Super athletic, kind of fits a little better into what Arthur Smith wants to do than somebody like Russell Wilson. And the report that dropped about Arthur Smith and Russell Wilson still throws me a little bit for a loop. I'm going to be honest with you. Because who stands to gain from that report? It's definitely not Arthur Smith. And I would say it really doesn't benefit Russell Wilson either. I've actually heard people say they think it could have come out of Russell Wilson's camp. I disagree. And the reason that I disagree with that is because I feel like what's the benefit for Russ saying, oh, well, I had a falling out with another coach. I mean, is that really where he wants to go with his reputation? I don't think that part makes a ton of sense to me. I feel like Russ would want to be the ultimate teammate, kind of the same things that we saw earlier in the year when he wasn't playing and Justin was playing. The guy who's sitting on the bench going through, game film with him and trying to give him tips and pointers and being the ultimate teammate. Like, I really feel like that's where Russ wants his name to be, kind of in that conversation, not in the conversation of another coach that he couldn't get along with. That doesn't really sit well with me. So I find it personally hard to believe that Russell Wilson had anything to do with it. I can't imagine his camp would have had anything to do with that. So who would be the other person that would maybe stand to benefit from this? And that's just, it's weird. I mean, it's just a weird thing that comes out well after the season. It doesn't make a ton of sense for it to even come out at all at this point. I mean, to me, it just, I don't know. I don't know. It's an odd report. It kind of read, again, I'm going to say this, I've said this before on here, but it read to me like it was kind of throwing Arthur Smith under the bus, if we're being honest. So where are we going to go in 2025? Matthew Stafford, would he be a trade target? Why would the Rams be? He just took him to the playoffs. Why would the Rams be motivated to move on from Matthew Stafford? I think that one's kind of rumored talk because of the whole Cooper Kupp thing. Are they going to blow it up? I just think Cooper Kupp's not that good. He had a decent season. Yeah, he's still producing to some degree, but I just don't feel like he's going to be a guy who, within a year or two, his body's breaking down. He's going to be done. I feel like you're about to get yourself into the Allen Robinson category of, he had one decent year last year, and let's see if he can get back to that 1,000-yard receiver again. I don't see it. He's past the 30-year-old threshold. He's going to be 32. I don't think he's the guy. So I don't think that move is as much about the Rams blowing it up necessarily as it is about maybe just Cooper Kupp's kind of, they know he's on his last legs. And that contract is a big contract for a guy who's not producing at the level of what the contract kind of says he should. So, of course, they're going to throw him out there as trade bait and see what they can get and see if somebody's going to take on that contract and they get it off their books so they can make other moves. So I don't know why the Rams would be motivated by moving Matthew Stafford at this point. They don't have an heir apparent. Who even is the backup quarterback for the Rams right now? Honestly, I don't even know. They're not really in a position to have a really good pick to go get somebody. They could trade up, but I just don't. I don't know. I feel like that's more rumor than it is actual possibility. Derek Carr, let's run it back with another 35-year-old quarterback who, I mean, you can say he had an okay year last year, but I don't think he was like doing anything fantastic. Do you want to say he had better weapons? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Saints weren't that good. So, but let's just do another stopgap 35-year-old quarterback. To me, that makes no sense. Kirk Cousins totally didn't even look like the same guy this year as he has the prior year. Do you want to take a shot on that? Again, another guy who's older. He's about to get cut by the Falcons. Why is he getting cut? Because he didn't play very well. Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he looked like he was ready to retire. I mean, in season, he looked like he was ready to retire. So he's even going to be available. I don't know. There's just not a lot of good options. Sam Darnold, that's a guy who got thrown out there quite a bit because of the fact that he looked like a guy that had kind of figured some things out, but it's a different offense in Minnesota. He's got much, much better weapons there than what we have in Pittsburgh. And I don't think he would replicate that same type of production here. And then, of course, he started looking a lot more like Sam Darnold in the playoff game. So, did he just kind of figure something out during the season and the playoff game and he folded? I don't know. But I wouldn't. There's just nobody on here that you're going to hang your hat on and say you feel really good about your options in 2025. So why not just run it back with Justin Fields? I mean, it makes the most sense. The guy's motivated not to move on and not get another offensive coordinator and go through a whole new offense and try to prove himself or compete for a job. He can stay here and compete for his job and learn, be on the same offense for a second year in a row, which he's not had in his career. So it makes sense. He's still going to be cheap. And I think it is his best chance to resurrect his career. It's probably in the Steelers' best interest to ride him throughout 2025 and just see if he's the same guy he was in Chicago. Guess what? You probably end up with a pick that puts you in a position to move up in the draft to go get your guy in 2026. If he plays really well, then you have a franchise type quarterback on a cheap deal for a couple of years. How is that a loss? I mean, I view that as an absolute win. I really think that the people in this fan base need to kind of understand that what we're going to do in 2025 is probably what I said we should have done last year. And I really advocated that we should have started doing at the end of Ben's career. And that's kind of go through a rebuild. And we've tried to piece together some guys. We bring in these aging stars that are no longer stars, that are just veterans at this point. And we just do enough. We do enough to win. But we don't do enough to win a playoff game. And I think you need to just accept the fact that as a franchise, you need to fill a lot of holes in this offseason, both through free agency as well as through the draft. And don't go get the 35-year-old guy who's going to hold you over for a year. Get younger guys. Put younger guys in position to where in 2026 this team can compete. Why are we still going down the same road over and over again of trying to get these stopgap guys? I mean, cornerback even. Why go after Tre'Davious White or whoever? I don't know, Stephon Gilmore. 32, 33-year-old guys. 34-year-old guys. Look for Asante Samuel, 25 years old. Does he make it out of the Chargers organization? I don't know. But if that guy's on the market, go find him. Go get him. Quit going after these aging stars. And I feel the same way about the quarterback position. Sure, Derek Carr's had a better career than Justin Fields. But is he a better player right now? Maybe. But do we know? Because Justin's never had a full season as his second straight season under the same offensive coordinator. We've never seen him play in a better organization for an entire season. And I don't know Jay Glazer basically said Russ is not coming back. He's close with Tomlin. If you want to take that as him having insider information on this whole thing, you could probably. If there's a guy who would know, he might. But what's being thrown out there as a guess, what's being thrown out there as firsthand knowledge, I don't know. But what I do know is that I personally don't want Russell Wilson back because I don't think he was very good this year. I don't think he's going to elevate this offense anywhere to any real heights. And I know a lot of people were talking about, oh, well, he had better numbers than Justin, not against winning teams. Justin played much better against the Chargers than Russ played against anybody down the stretch outside of Washington. So, I mean, it was moonball or check down. At least Justin brings another element to his game where he can run the ball. And I really don't feel like we saw the full playbook with Justin Fields at quarterback the same way we were seeing the full playbook with Russell Wilson. And it didn't look that different. And that's only because Russell Wilson didn't look at anybody on the field except the deep ball or check down. So I just felt like that was a large part of his game. And, Justin has always had a history of not being able to read defenses, not working through progressions very well. And that's something that he needs to fix. And that's an absolute fact. He really does need to figure that part out. But put him in situations where he knows the plays, he knows the routes, he has all these things down pat where he can actually start to develop and see what happens. He's still young. I mean, there's a lot of guys coming in this draft that are a year younger than he is. I mean, there's 3 quarterbacks I think that are going to be 24 in this draft. He's 25. He's not that much older than the guys coming out right now. So I'm still going to stick by my guns on this, and I still am going to say that Justin Fields is the best guy for this offense in 2025. Especially if people are confirming the Steelers are looking to get more speed, especially at the running back position. It sounds like they really want some guys who can run that wide zone offense of Arthur Smith and get on the edges and get the corners and things that like Najee Harris didn't do very well. Jaylen Warren's more of a downhill runner, even though his size wouldn't make you think that he's, an outside zone guy. He's not. He's more of a downhill type of runner. So if they get a guy like Devin Neal out of Kansas who fits this scheme very well, or some others, I mean, if they go higher in the draft, Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins are going to be in that conversation. If you get guys like that can get the corners and get upfield and be explosive guys, adding a guy like Justin Fields to your offense just makes it more dangerous in the run game. It's going to help out your offensive line too. I think the offensive line, you hope they make a jump between this year and 2025, but you don't know what you got. You don't know if they're going to make that jump. And so for me, I think Justin Fields helps that situation a little bit. He's not going to put up the biggest passing numbers, but you don't need him to. He needs reliable targets. He needs guys better than Van Jefferson on the field. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, Van Jefferson's a number 5 receiver on just about anything. He probably isn't going to be on a roster this coming season. He was our number 2. He probably is not going to be rostered. So take that into consideration. When you think about things like that, you have to give both Justin and Russ a little bit of benefit of the doubt because, there was just nobody to throw it to. George Pickens, when is he going to run routes? Do they know which plays he's going to run hard and which ones he's not? Pat Freiermuth, they didn't utilize him until towards the end of the season. So, and Pat had a nice season. I'm not saying anything negative about Pat, but I just felt like he was underutilized for a lot of the season because he was open. And that to me was on Russ. It's also on Justin. I think we need to understand that in 2025, it's probably still not going to be our year. But what we need to do is build out the roster so that it's ready for the next guy. And had somebody respond to me that that's not how you do it. Well, how do you do it then? Why go get the quarterback if you don't have the roster? Like, why, if you have an opportunity to put the roster together before you have the quarterback, so that that quarterback has a chance to hit the ground running, and as soon as they figure it out, if it's their rookie season or even if it's their second season, you have a chance to compete. Spend the money while you have a rookie contract. Like that's when these teams are doing. That's when Joe Burrow had the most success. He was on a rookie contract. They weren't paying Jamar Chase. They weren't paying T. Higgins. They weren't paying Joe Burrow. Their defense was much better as a result. Like, why? I don't understand the argument behind that. Like, oh, don't spend your money now. Wait till you get your guy, then spend your money. Get the guys in the system right now in 2025. Put it all together now, so they all grow together. And then 2026, everybody's already familiar with themselves. You're gonna have to replace guys. It's salary cap. That's just how it works. But then you can at least draft for need, or I'm sorry, not draft for need. You can draft for best available and not have to worry about, well, okay, we need to replace all these guys. Like, put the team together this year. Spend some money in free agency. Have this thing ready to go. And then if you get your guy, you can trade up. You don't have to worry about, oh, God, I need all 5 of these picks because I got to fill 5 holes in this roster, even after free agency. No. Spend those picks and move up in the draft and go get your guy at quarterback. It's the only way this thing makes sense. So I hope we're very aggressive in free agency. And the way that we're going to do that is go get a cheap quarterback. I think Derek Carr is going to command too much money. I could be wrong on that one. I mean, God only knows what this Kirk Cousins deal is going to be. You could probably sign him cheap because the Falcons owe him all this money. I mean, but again, I don't want a 35-year-old. So I really think the upside is there to just go ahead and run this thing back with Justin Fields and see what happens. Maybe he figures it out. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe we go 6 wins all of next season. All that does is push us closer into the conversation of drafting a top-tier quarterback. So who cares? You're not going to be a Super Bowl type roster this year anyway, unless Omar Khan really pulls out some pretty magical moves in this offseason. But one of those moves would have to be the quarterback. And I think of the guys that have been mentioned so far, and I don't think any of this is even confirmed. Matthew Stafford's the only one that even is realistically going to give you a shot to win. I mean, I've always liked Matthew Stafford. I liked him in Detroit. Liked him since he's gone to the Rams. He's a fantastic player. I thought he's always been a little bit undersold throughout his career. Tough guy. Still can sling it. Has always had a good arm. He'd probably be the only one that would actually be intriguing for me to move off of the Justin Fields mindset. But again, I don't even know if there's any confirmation this guy's ever even going to be available. So I think it's just speculation on what the Rams are going to do. They have been going younger. And, the Rams have been a team that has sold out to win. Could Pittsburgh try that? You got some aging stars. Could they try to sell out to win for guys like TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, Minkah Fitzpatrick? I mean, theoretically, yeah. But in order to build it back after you do something like that, you really have to hit on your draft picks. And until the last 2 drafts, I mean, we have not hit on draft picks in a long, long time. So I don't know if this is more of an anomaly where we've hit on draft picks the past 2 years, or if it's now going to be kind of the theme of the way the Pittsburgh Steelers do business with Andy Weidel and Omar Khan. I guess we'll have to wait and see on that part. But if it were me, if Matthew Stafford's available, I would have to take serious consideration into going after him. If it's anybody else, I'm just running it back with Justin Fields and being done with it. And that's just all there is to it. So let me know what you think. I don't think this is going to turn out to be as much of a controversy as people were going to talk about, because there's nothing to talk about in the offseason right now. We just went through the Shrine Bowl, the Senior Bowl. Things are going to kind of die down until the Combine comes up here in a few weeks. And then we'll have a bunch of stuff to talk about, right? So until then, let me know what you think about the quarterback situation in 2025. Do you think we should ride it out and try to get a better pick in 2026? We'll see what happens. As always, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff so you know when the content comes out. Hope y'all have a great night.